Every time you post, you're submitting an additional lottery ticket into the drawing. But in the social media world, it's the chance of going viral, the chance of a client picking you up, the chance of a brand picking you up.
With that podcast, it's not like I did the best job in terms of distribution, but enough of the right people. If I went to a conference in LA, chances are someone would walk by me and say, "We are live," because that's what I used to start every single podcast with. So I didn't even know it. Oh yeah. But dude, these guys were just driving in the truck, listening to me every day.
You could be spending a whole bunch of time creating content, but posting it the wrong way on the platform, and you're not going to get the results that you want.
Welcome back to another episode of Construction Tech Talk, where we blend the traditions of the trades with the innovations of the future, man. We got my boy over here, Chad, giggling away because this guy right here is the man behind the scenes, the man, the myth, the legend, doing all our social media, doing reels, TikToks, you name it, YouTube shorts, full-fledged long-form content. This guy right here, my man, Chad Lubinski. What's going on, my man?
Nick, it's great to be here, man. I've been putting together these episodes for the past few months, and I'm honored to be on one. So thanks, man.
Mm-hmm. Well, you're absolutely crushing it, right? We're looking even just at like the shorts game. I was looking at 203 reviews. All of a sudden, we're getting 10,000, 11,000, 12,000, 13,000, 14, 15. All these views, right? And so that's why I wanted to bring you on to this show, right? When you're looking at content, I know it's an area people think about. Gary Vee has been shoving it down the throats of roofing contractors for the last 6 years at all these conferences. And I've listened, but to be honest, sometimes I just don't get it. I don't get what is engaging content, what's going to get the eyeballs, and what's going to track or cause result in positive influence to the business in terms of leads, opportunities, deals, revenue, etc. Now you get that stuff, right? And so I've been connecting you to some different roofing contractors to kind of open up the door for them as well. So that's what we'll be diving in today. Chad, I appreciate your time and all of your knowledge.
Thanks, brother. It's actually really interesting that I didn't know Gary, does he talk at roofing specific conferences?
Yep.
No kidding.
The first one I ever went to was the first time I saw him speak, and then I ran into him at the airport in New Orleans on the way back. I was like, "Hey, look, this is one of my clients. I quit my job. I followed what you told me to do, all of that good stuff, and since then I probably made 300, 400 podcast episodes, everything like that. But there's still more to it, right? There's just still something about understanding what content's going to work, what's not going to work. And I think that's what we can kind of talk about, right? And so for those who don't know, with your background, Chad is an influencer himself. He is an outdoor influencer who has made that his career. And, basically what I was like, dude, this guy's killing it. I need to get his skill sets. And that's why we're bringing that stuff to you. So when we're looking at social media, I'm almost thinking we can make some kind of marketing plan, content plan, you know what I mean? Just kind of like the foundation that someone could kind of run with. Now, if you're a roofing contractor and you don't know what the hell to do on social media, are you basically going ham on, shorts and different videos like that? What's the mindset? What's the approach?
Yeah, man. So what Gary says, and Gary was a pivotal figure in my life as well.
Amen.
He's the one he's the one that got me to quit my job as well. But what he says really resonated with me, which is you have to understand the language of the platform. And so, when you're talking with roofing clients, there's a particular language, there's a nomenclature that you guys speak about. If I was to attend that meeting, I would sit there and have to chat GPT every third word that you guys are saying, or acronym, right? So you can think about social media as just that. You're learning a new language, you're learning a new vernacular, right? And so the first thing that I think anybody needs to do is that, first of all, they have to ask themselves why do they want to get into it? Because as you know, it's a look, the construction business is already a grind. But now social media is going to be an additional grind. It's tough to do. So you got to ask yourself why. Yeah, like why do I want to do this, right? And typically it's going to be, well, I want more leads, or XYZ. And that's awesome. And what I really think people need to think about is you need to have a brand. In other words, when I first started my outdoor business, I would have to inbound everybody to get any kind of product to use to whatever, right? As I've built my brand and I've created this content library across all these platforms that takes a long time to build, brands are now inbounding me. I don't have to go search anymore. And so that's
100%.
So you know what I mean? You're investing your time into dividends down the road. So how I always kind of think of it, man, is I think about it as every time you post, you're submitting an additional lottery ticket into the drawing to try to get drawn. But in the social media world, I'm just kind of thinking, it's the chance of going viral, the chance of a client picking you up, the chance of a brand picking you up in my instance. So thinking about it that way is really good. But I think the first step that you need to do is you need to understand the platform that you're going to be posting on. And that requires research. And so when you're on it, I mean, you got to spend like 4 hours at first on a platform and consume the content. And I know that feels like eating chips for a week, right? You're just like eating junk food. It's rough. It's rough.
Yeah, it is.
But I want you to look at it as a producer and not a consumer. Okay. And so once you start to understand, then you can start to understand, okay, this is the type of content that resonates. These are the people that I like. This is what they're doing. This is kind of how I want to start to emulate it. Now you're not going to copy them, but you're going to kind of model your content after them because you have no idea what the heck works and what doesn't work, but you know that theirs is. So, and then you start to iterate it for yourself. So that's where I would start. It's a long answer.
And I think there's a lot there to unpack. I think the first thing is it's gonna be a grind. There's no doubt about it. You almost have to make like a content creation culture that's all about it. And you said that basically building out that brand was able to create it where people are now coming to you, right? So now you're getting inbound traffic. I'll tell you this, man, with that podcast, it's not like I did the best job in terms of distribution, but enough of the right people heard my content where if I went to a conference in LA, chances are someone would walk by me and say, "We are live," because that's what I used to start every single podcast with. So I didn't even know it. Oh yeah, but dude, these guys were just driving in the truck, listening to me every day, and I didn't know until they came up and said that stuff to me. Now, when they inquire about my services, solutions, whatever it might be, now that conversation is just so much different, right? So now when you're looking at those objections, those worries, whatever it might be, those start to evaporate, right? And now if it makes sense for them, they're gonna pull the trigger.
Dude, I got the chills when you were talking about that, man.
Because is it crazy?
It's crazy, and long form content is what does that for you, right? Short form, the way I think of short form is it's not long enough for an audience to build a relationship with you, right? But it can lead to, it's almost like a lead magnet. It's a lead to the longer form content. Just how you said, people are sitting in their trucks listening to you, before they start their shift at 8:00. It's almost like they have this parasocial friendship with you. And now
you built a relationship. Yeah.
Yes. And they're a warm audience. Just like you said, there's not really those objections and all the other things that you get from a cold outbound that you would when somebody's consuming your media, and they kind of know you in a way. I mean, they know how you interact with people. They know your jokes and your mannerisms. And so long form content is very, very, very critical.
I mean, and there's so many advantages. SEO, right? I mean, there's all these different aspects. that it can help your marketing plan when you're looking at the video content, right? Now, okay, so we've decided we want to produce content. We're a roofing company. Let's say we're 7 years old. We're a pretty decent size. And we decided we wanted to do it because we feel like we're out of date. We need to improve our brand because we're going after premium properties, homeowners, commercial properties, all that kind of stuff. So we really wanted to portray that persona. And we want to get ourselves out there because we think we can start to generate leads that way.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's one of those things where it's almost like when you start to work out, it's so overwhelming when you start to work out, you don't know what to do, right? You know,
Yeah.
and everything's hard. Do you suggest starting with a plan? Do you suggest starting with that research and start to make some notes on what's working, what's not working? How do we kind of attack this?
Yes, absolutely. So the first thing, a first quick win that you can do is start to optimize your profile. So that just means how you're talking about SEO. Well, there's SEO on Instagram now. There's SEO
Mm,
on TikTok now. And so particularly with those two platforms, you can in your profile actually put Colorado's #1 roofing company, right? And so
mm-hmm.
I was showing a mutual client that we had,
Yep.
how when you searched it, these different companies would come up, but theirs wasn't because they didn't have that keyword in the profile, right? So that's a real quick win. What you do, I mean, if you looked at Better Bosses right now, you basically kind of give your value prop, right? And so yeah, so you do with that, your location, right? For you, it's not as a big deal because you can go wherever and work with. I mean, you got Florida
Right.
clients, right? I mean, it's like you can
Right.
go wherever.
Yeah.
But for people that are local, you definitely got to have that state or that city that you're working with in there. So first thing is to optimize that profile. But
Mm-hmm.
then, yes, I would say you gotta research because you're gonna be totally shooting. I'll tell you, after you research a platform for 4 hours, you're gonna have a much better and thorough understanding than when you started. And
A hundred
that's just the
percent.
truth. And it sucks, but like Gary Vee says, you gotta eat shit, and you gotta
But
love eating
yeah,
shit,
I
right?
agree. And it's one of those things too where um it's crazy because dude, I'll waste more time just trying to be the most creative person on earth and trying to think of this great content. Well, really, you should just be searching your feeds, looking at relatable content and seeing what's actually working rather than trying to recreate the wheel and get zero views, right? And
Great
so
way to put it. Yeah.
that pays off, and it's crazy too because I know we talked about this. The short videos, you're basically saying that is what's going to draw the traction to your page to watch the long form stuff, get subscribers, all that kind of stuff. But now, when we were talking, the short videos on Google search was on my phone. I just searched it again. Now you got short videos right after images, even on your desktop.
Really.
So
Yeah.
it's crazy. And when you look it up, I mean, it's YouTube, TikTok, you kind of
Mm-hmm.
name it. And so now those are actually getting up there on the search results
Okay.
pretty
Yeah.
drastically, especially if you're posting them a decent amount.
Absolutely. Yeah. And what's really cool, Nick, is where YouTube within the last year or so it is. If you go on YouTube Shorts, right, and we look up one of your shorts from that I clipped from your podcast with an individual,
Mm-hmm.
under the title, when you're watching the short, you can actually link the video that it's to. So they're making it real easy. It's kind of like when if you've ever blogged or you try to get backlinks to a website and
Yep.
things like that, it's almost like that but in this video realm. And so yeah, man, and I, like you're saying, it's already shown up on Google now. I mean, just imagine where this type of stuff will be in a couple years. Yeah.
It's insane, man. I mean, like, what what do you think on shorts then, right? Because it's interesting. So we could kind of use what we do for Better Bosses as like an example, I guess, as like a foundational thing, right? So basically, we do the podcast. We have that as the long form. We put that on a podcast landing page on the website for SEO. We post that on Google. We post it on YouTube. We post it on Facebook, etc. Right? Then we make the shorts, but then we also sprinkle in some other stuff, right? And
Mm-hmm.
as much as I love the podcast, I think I got the best podcast in the US, right? But it it doesn't really move the needle in terms of getting traffic to the channel. Even like our reels on it, I would say probably don't do as effective as some of the ones that you kind of just think of. Do you kind of want to talk about those kind of videos and your strategy there?
Yeah. So I think, okay, when you are scrolling Instagram, right, and you are just chilling by yourself, you're relaxing, right?
Yeah.
What are the type of videos that you decide to share with other people or
Funny
fun?
stuff, entertaining,
Mm-hmm. Right. And
sometimes
that's
motivated if I'm trying to get bumped. You know what I mean? But it's nothing related to the business, though, really.
not really, but the overall arching theme is that it's funny and then it's entertaining. And so we want to make content that's either inspiring, entertaining, or informative, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we definitely hit the informative with the reels of the clips of the podcast. To hit the funny and the entertaining, or to hit the
Mm-hmm.
well, we hit the inspiring too from your podcast. Which, a matter of
Yeah.
fact, the one that I just put today, where you were talking about going to war with someone leading from the front, like that's an
Yeah.
inspiring clip, right? Like I love
Yeah.
that stuff. That pumps me up. But the one thing that we are missing is we need to find something that's entertaining. And the reason they do so well is because they're shareable. It's shareable content. If you look at
Mm-hmm.
the post that we did, not
The
our last one,
Instagram
but the one
one.
before that, yeah, the one where it's the
54
guy,
shares.
54 shares. Now go to the next
Mm.
whatever one is a podcast clip, and there's not a lot of shares, right? So the virality comes from the shares, right? And so when I think about it is we have to hit all three of those categories because we want to build that credibility. When somebody lands on your site, they know right away you got a podcast and you know what you're talking about, and you have guests that know what they're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So when they land on it, they see that, but they also see that this is an entertaining profile too. It's not just inspiring or educational, but we also have that other side of things. And again, that how we were saying, it brings other people in that wouldn't already have seen the other stuff. So you're kind of making
Mm-hmm.
this multi-dimensional type of profile, but it prevents it also from getting stagnant, from people seeing the same
Mm-hmm.
clip every single time, right? So
Which is what I kind of had, right? And then you started to incorporate some of those videos. And like for example, I didn't want to cut you off, but for example, for the video that did so well, right? It's the guy who is in the middle of nowhere, right? And the caption is, when the roof's done and you send the homeowner the invoice, right? Now this guy's in the middle of freaking nowhere, right? So it's very relatable to a lot of these
relatable.
contractors trying to get
Yes.
paid, right? And now they're sharing it with their friends who also understand that joke, right? And
Exactly.
those are the ones that do so great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, relate. So you said a keyword there, Nick, which was relatable. You want it to be relatable content, right? And so it's
Mm-hmm.
not like we're just making this entertaining content that has nothing to do with roofing or contracting. No, it has, but it's relatable in that niche.
Mm-hmm.
And so people, yeah, would share it, get a laugh out of it, and hopefully go and look at more of your profile and your page.
So, like for example, do you have some ideas there? Because I think that's the biggest thing is I think contractors that they get it, post the jobs, post their team, post the customers, right? All the normal stuff that is kind of um, intuitively just makes sense, right? But maybe you can kind of explain. It seems like you pull off of trends, and different videos are doing well. And then the video that you just posted. I don't know if that one was really trending or like how do you find that stuff or how do you put that together? Because I
Yeah.
think incorporating like one post like that a week or every couple weeks
Mm-hmm.
could make an impact in terms of the growth of the channel.
Absolutely, yeah, and that's kind of what I'm aiming for there. Like once a week or so, I'm posting. I want to post something like that, and so for me,
Mm-hmm.
really, man, it's just is I'm scrolling on your profile on the Better Boss profile because it wouldn't make sense to scroll on mine because algorithm is totally different than yours. Like I never see
Yeah.
construction stuff. So I scroll on your profile, and what I'll do is I usually set a timer for about 30 minutes. I'll scroll it. And if I find something that makes me laugh, where I didn't have to think about laughing, I'll typically save the link into a Notion document, and then
Yep.
I'll keep going. And then after that, I'll kind of go through that document and see which one I want to create it off of. But for the most part, yeah, it's mostly it. That's really just my strategy with that. I guess it's pretty simple. Yeah. But if it
Yeah,
makes
but I
me
mean,
laugh,
it's
yeah.
but it's not though. It's one of those things because it's like a lot of the stuff on the social media, some of it actually is pretty simple, but like we overthink it sometimes, I think,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because it is such an intimidating topic for a lot of
Mm-hmm.
us, right? And we're
Yeah.
so used to not getting any kind of traffic whatsoever, right? And so, I mean, what are those even called? It's like, I like the videos where it's like we don't even put ourselves on it,
Yeah.
right?
It'd be a CapCut type template.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Video.
right. So
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
you're not even showing your face on it, right? So you don't even have to film
No.
anything. And
No. And
those are
that's
the
what
ones that are
makes it
getting
super easy.
15,000 views or something on YouTube.
Which is crazy because and here's the thing is like we also so I started the podcast out saying social media is a grind, which it is,
Hmm.
but there's also some aspects of it that kind of like your interview with Jake, where he's like, yeah,
Hmm.
it sounds so simple, but that it's stupid, but there's some things in it that you don't need to overthink. Like and the funny stuff is that type of stuff. And so especially if you've been, I mean, look, I worked construction with my dad when I was in high school, dude.
Hell yeah,
But
brother.
besides that, I don't got construction experience. I don't got roofing experience. But so for people that are in that industry, you can do a scroll and you can look at something that's funny, and it doesn't even have to be a roofing related meme. It doesn't even have to be something about roofing, but you just
Hmm.
like for example, it didn't have to do with roofing when I saw that guy that was out in Alaska. It was something else. But I thought that it would be freaking hilarious
And it
because
was.
yeah, I was like, and because I kind of get that too in my business, and I'm not roofing, but it's like, you send something, they're like, hey, we want content in 7 days, 7 days turnaround, 7 days, 7 days. You send them an invoice, and they like, poof, they're gone.
Oh,
So,
dude. Well, and yeah, I mean, it was hilarious. And it's funny because, you know, Tim Brown with Hook Agency, he has the roofer memes, right? And so you've been adding him
yeah,
as a collaborator too, which I think is a great approach too. His whole channel is roofing memes, right? And then we add him as a collaborator, expands the reach. He gets a free content post, right? It's one of those win-win situations. But it's interesting. I remember I was on a business trip and I was overhearing a call and someone was talking about Tim. And he's like, man, those roofing memes are hilarious. He's like, I just felt like he really understood the industry and who we are. And all of a sudden, he was getting like cred from his ideal customer for having funny videos.
absolutely. Yeah, because how do we form relationships in real life?
Yeah.
Relatability a lot of times. And so when you're seeing that on social media, again, it kind of feels like you're almost like developing this warm lead with this person and developing this type of rapport that because you do understand what they're going through. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
But I
which
mean, it's pretty
Nick,
crazy, right? Like you're building credibility because of a meme page, right? I
yeah,
mean, it kind of shows. I mean, it's almost like that relationship. It's like they want to do business with people they kind of like to and vibe with, right? So it's like you're
totally.
kind of like this cool character in a way that
Totally.
understands them. That's also funny, and people love funny
Totally.
people.
People love funny people. Now, I think for us, like it is important that we still have that credibility. One of the things that we do is,
Yeah.
our Instagram story highlights is, one of the things I wanted to put in there was your testimonials. So when people land on your site, then this is another thing of optimizing your profile is having those testimonials that people can watch videos of the testimony. It's not a written testimonial. It's
Yeah.
it's videos that you've gotten from a call that we've put on there, right? And so I think those are super important. And you did bring up something real critical too, Nick, which was the collaborations. And
Yeah.
so roofing memes that page has more followers than us and they have eyeballs. So for me, I'm like, dude, no brainer for us to collab with that, right?
A
No
hundred
brainer.
percent.
And the thing that also makes your podcast valuable, though, is we do the same thing. We collab on those posts. So not only is our audience seeing the post, but now their audience is being exposed to this post. And then whoever else doesn't even follow us, because we all know, or maybe people don't know now, but Instagram, TikTok, more so Instagram, it used to be a follower-based platform. In other words, you saw what you followed. So if you followed Nick, you'd see his posts. If you didn't follow Nick, you're not going to see his posts. When TikTok came along in 2020, it totally threw everything upside down. Because now, when Instagram started integrating Reels in 21, everything became TikTokified, meaning it became an interest-based platform. So the algorithm now understands what you like, what you don't like, and it's going to show you more of what you like to keep you on the platform. So for roofers that are just starting out, this is why you can go and you can post you can create an account tomorrow and you can post a funny reel, a meme, whatever, and you can have 10x the views on it that you have for followers. And it's because it's interest-based. It doesn't matter how many followers that you have. It matters the type of content you create. So that can be, I think, inspiring to people that aren't already perhaps creating content.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Yeah, it's like, so I when I was in like the marketing space, right? I had a contractor that wanted to get into podcasting, and I think this could still be an option. I love the podcasting just because it makes you do it consistently. If you can stick with it, right? It's just rinse and repeat. You can get in a routine. But I started one for a contractor. He kind of didn't stick with it, but just as an example, it's called Homeowner University, right? And so he'd bring in different contractors, he'd bring in, real estate people and realtors, whatever it might be. And it was just basically a resource for their ideal customer from a variety of people, not just him providing solutions. So then what he got to do was then basically he got to collab with those people who were in that same local market, serving the same customer, right? Getting into their space. And then, what we were doing is we were using local words, right? So cities and stuff like that. So now you can have that SEO benefit too. And then if you did something like that, and then just incorporated different reels and stuff like that for humor and rapport and personality, that could be your content plan right there. What do you think?
100%, man. I've always said
Mm-hmm.
that, and we've had this conversation too. Like, you know, out of all the mediums, the interesting thing is that I think podcasts, so to produce, I think podcasts are the easiest, just in terms of producing. In other words, talking, having that conversation, and editing, it's pretty simple.
It's pretty easy, yeah.
But it's very tough because you don't get the external validation that you would on a reel or your YouTube or whatever, these shorts. But it's a total long-term play because like you're saying,
Mm-hmm.
you are building relationships with people in your ideal that are your ideal customers or that are in your ideal industry. That opens up outlandish amount of doors that you couldn't even think possible, or that you would never talk to this person unless it was under the guise of a podcast, right? Like
For real though.
I had the goat of long distance hiking on the other day
Yeah.
on my podcast, and Andrew Skirka. And I thought about it after. I was like, dude, he would have never came on this if I wasn't like, oh yeah, like I have this podcast. Why
A
would he
hundred
have an
percent.
hour-long conversation with me? And so it's the same thing, yeah, with this type of work. But yeah, 100% that could be a content strategy. Yeah.
I mean, it's such a good way to build relationships. I mean, you got to think too. It's like when I first got into space, I didn't know anybody, right? And now all of a sudden there's videos and photos and all this stuff with me with the most influential people in the space, right? And it's one of those things where, in the beginning, sure, it might be a little bit harder to get some people, but once you can get it cooking, all of a sudden you're rolling and you're getting guests. But people love to talk about themselves. So let's say that there's somebody you really want to connect with that could be a center of influence, maybe it could be a referral partner or whatever it might be. And you don't know who they are. One of the best openers is to invite them to talk about themselves for 45 minutes,
Oh, 100%.
right?
100%, man. I actually, we listened to Ed Milet. I know you love Ed. Ed's the
Mm-hmm.
man, dude.
Oh yeah.
And I remember one of his one of his podcasts. He was talking about how he invited this guy on his jet, and he invited this guy on his jet, but the guy talked about himself the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, yeah, man, I don't know if he was nervous. I don't know this or that or whatever. But he's like, I actually kind of left the end of that not really enjoying my time with the guy because Ed thought that he was going to ask him maybe a little bit about himself, right? Now, if you ask the other guy how that time went, he'd probably be like, dude, Ed is the man. Ed's the man. He was listening to me. He's nodding, right? Like, you do a great job listening, right? And so all of a sudden, by the end of this hour-long podcast, man, you're all of a sudden like clicked up with this person, and you barely had to say three words. You know what I mean?
It's pretty
Just
epic.
listen.
Yeah.
Yeah, just
It's
listen.
it's just like a networking event, right? So you meet somebody at a networking event, and you don't say a word about yourself. You ask great questions. That person is going to leave and say they really like you, and they're not even sure why.
Not
But
even sure
it's
why.
because you let them talk about themselves, right? And so now
Absolutely.
they felt important, they felt heard, and chances are they probably want to do something in return for you now, right? So great relationship builder, 100%. Now, one thing I wanted to talk about too was, you know, roofing contractors. That's kind of my niche, and just contractors in general. But I know my roofers, they love Facebook, right? And they do a great job networking, collaborating groups and stuff like that. But remember, that's not going to be the people you're going to entertain. That's not the people you want to invite to like your Facebook page, right? So when you're thinking this content, if it's funny to roofing contractors, that's great. That might be a better fit for something for us to post. But you're trying to get into the mindset, sense of humor, right, of a homeowner or a property owner, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
So,
that's where understanding because each platform has a different language, correct? And
mm-hmm.
so when you're posting on the platforms, you have to make little tweaks to each piece of content. One thing that Nick had the great idea of doing was the social bee content planner, which is where you can essentially take one piece of content and then you can distribute it across all these other platforms. But when I do that, I try to make sure that I'm tweaking it for that platform. So for example, all the like for example, what I'll do is for LinkedIn, sometimes I won't necessarily put the funnier ones on LinkedIn because I kind of looked at LinkedIn as more of like this professional type of platform. But what I will do with
Real
LinkedIn,
uptight.
Roofing contractors, imagine creating months of marketing content in minutes. With our free 15 Power AI prompts, you'll boost lead quality and crush your competition with high converting content. Stop wasting time and start seeing results. Download it now. The link is waiting for you in the show notes.
real uptight, dude.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I do is if I do post a reel, let's say from our podcast, that's a clip, instead of the caption being whatever I had it for Instagram, I'll try to make it a little bit longer and more informative for people on LinkedIn. The other thing that I'll do with the podcast that I talked about with you the other day was with Descript, I'll get a summary of the podcast and then I'll break it down further to optimize it for LinkedIn. So it's, because LinkedIn's more of a bloggier, it's a text platform almost. I mean, it's just not,
Yeah.
I don't really think of it too much as a video, but they are getting into video now. So we are still trying to hit that with our stuff, but they're more of a text platform. So yeah, so from LinkedIn to YouTube to Instagram to TikTok, all these have to have different tweaks. And that's why I say you have to spend time in each platform to recognize what's going to work and what doesn't work. Because you could be spending a whole bunch of time creating content, but posting it the wrong way on the platform, and you're not going to get the results that you want.
100%. So then, I mean, what do you think? So obviously, you only have so much time in the day, right? And it does take a ton of time to be posting on these different platforms, right? So when we first connected and started working together, we kind of said, fooey with TikTok. We didn't really focus too much on LinkedIn in the beginning, right? You started incorporating that without me even realizing. You said some blog stuff was doing good there and whatnot. Um, and now we're posting on TikTok just because we have that social beat,
Right.
right? Do you think it's one of those situations where it's like, have your main, but if you have a tool for like social B where it might be, $30-$40 a month, and you can just post them, just throw them on there and see if you can get any tractions, or like what's your thoughts on like picking the best platform?
Yeah, I think if you're just starting into it, like you talked about, you made a great analogy with working out. You're overwhelmed by everything. When you're working out, you're like, what the heck is my
Oh yeah,
triceps? What does this cable thing do, right? So I think you
100%.
have yeah, you got to optimize one platform first. And I think, for roofers, that could be, from what you were saying, hey, Facebook's really good for it. I think Instagram's really good because people can DM you and stuff. So maybe you focus your time there. And once you're feeling confident, and also once you have a library built up, you can download, because that's the one thing that I'll do for off our Instagram is I'll post an Instagram and I'll download that video, and that's what I'll distribute to all these different platforms. Because the one thing with social media is you can't put text on it, as in text on screen, and you can't put music to it. So there is some limitations there, but if you do that already in the Instagram app, you'll be fine, and then download
Then
it,
you're kind
right?
of good.
Yeah, you're kind of good.
So basically, you're making it the way you want on Instagram, which I know
Mm-hmm.
it's your favorite, right? So hold on, let's see here. So you're making the video for Instagram, you're downloading that video, then you're gonna repurpose it the way you already have it, the way you want from Instagram to all the other platforms.
Mm-hmm.
So if you guys do want to follow Chad, all right, make sure you guys are following him. What's your handle?
At Chattahoochee_.
53,000 followers over here. So I know that Instagram, that's your favorite one, right? Or is it
You
YouTube?
know, YouTube's my favorite. Honestly, long form content is by far my favorite. But man, that's a grind. I mean, after I've been posting on there since 2020, and I got 12,000 subs right now. You know,
It's a
but
lot.
but it's cool, man. YouTube's great, and the reason I love YouTube is because it's evergreen. In other
Yeah.
words, I posted a Colorado Trail documentary 3 years ago, and I'm still making money and getting views on it. And so the same goes for roofing contractors. Is when you're like when Nick posts his informational podcasts, he's going to get views on this every single year if it's relevant, if it's searchable. So, I mean, there's one of them, I think you talked about Toggle AI or something, some kind of AI, right? And this was months ago or something.
Yeah.
And I still see that that's one of the heavier hitters when you look at analytics for the last 28 days on YouTube. So,
It is
evergreen
crazy, yeah.
stuff. Yeah, and you don't get that on a lot of the other platforms. Well, really any of the platforms, to be frank. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's crazy. So, we kind of talked about this. I'm on your channel too now. So, you know, why I've stopped using Ultra Shoes, maybe you should too. A year ago, you got 134,000 views.
Yeah.
And you kind of talked about the reviews being a heavy hitter. Now, if I'm a contractor, could I do a product review for a homeowner? Do you think that'd be something that a contractor would get the eyeballs on more, or like, do you have any thoughts on how they can incorporate that strategy? Because you were telling me about that, and clearly it works.
Well, one of your biggest viewed shorts was what?
Which one?
The Milwaukee Tool.
Oh yeah,
Reviewing what? Or you were talking about what product?
yeah. It was like the Milwaukee Whole Hog, I think.
Yeah, and so that's I think that's, I don't know if we went into your analytics right now, but I think it's a pretty viewed short of yours.
That's like
So,
that. Like that's the most that I posted myself.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, for whatever reason, man, my product videos, reviews always over index over everything else, mostly over my documentaries, a lot of times over, yeah, it's just like, I don't know, for whatever it is, gear reviews, product reviews, shoe reviews, I don't know what it is. I think it's because we live in this culture where, I mean, speak for yourself, but for me, before I make a big purchase, I'm always looking at reviews, man. Reddit, YouTube, I'm all over the place. I can't trust the website,
Yeah.
obviously, right? Like I'm going external for that. And so, yeah, I
It
think
makes
that's
you wonder though too if those people are more likely to buy because they're looking at like purchasing type information to get an answer too, right? And so
yeah,
it's almost like, could you do videos? So if you're a contractor, could you be like, this is why I stopped using GF shingles, and maybe you shouldn't put this
absolutely.
on your house, dot dot dot.
Now, probably the people that are going to be searching for that would probably be other contractors, right?
That's what I was
Which,
wondering though. So could you
right.
reword that? So it's like, hey, this is, homeowners, stop putting GF shingles on your house in
Yeah,
Colorado or something like
possibly.
that.
I think
You know what I mean?
you might want to go a little more general with it, just depending on what if you
Like
go
what?
like stop putting these shingles on your roof.
Yeah.
Because if I'm a
More open.
homeowner, I don't know what in the hell GF shingles are, right? Like if I'm
Yeah.
a layperson, I have no idea. If I'm a contractor, yeah. But what you could do though, Nick, is you could put like in brackets, maybe either in the title, definitely in the description to get the keyword searchable. You could put that specific shingle in there because you don't want to miss
Hmm.
out on that keyword because if you still want to get contractors to search for it, that'd be great. So
Oh
definitely in the
yeah.
description, up to you in the title type of thing. Which vidIQ is great for that. To
You want to
you know,
talk
be,
about that a little bit because that is a good tool.
yeah, dude, vidIQ and even just the free version, man, it slaps. And so before I ever go and research or post a video, or before I even start on a video, because long form videos take a long time, I want to make sure that my investment is going to pay dividends. So what I'll do is, for example, there was Hollow Socks, which are these new brand of socks. Hikers love socks, dude. I searched Hollow Socks on YouTube first, and there's like 3 videos on it. Okay. But the videos over indexed for that person's.
But what do you mean by over index too? Maybe even.
So, yeah. So over index just means it overperformed. So if the individual, the if the individual had 300 subscribers, this did 4,000 views.
Hmm.
So I know that it overperformed for their channel, which is a good signal that, hey, this has people searching for it. This has desire for search. So then I'll
This is a
go in from
gap.
there. Yeah, dude, there's a gap there. And so I'll go in from there and I'll type in, okay, hollow socks and the keywords in vidIQ. It'll pop up and it'll tell me is it a good keyword to make a video on? And it will tell me based on how many videos are currently out there and how much it's searched. And for this particular example, it was ranked as, I think it was like good or something. I don't know. It was in yellow or green, which for me is all systems go. It was low for
Yeah.
the amount of videos, but it was medium for the amount of searches. So for me, I thought this is going to be great. So before I make the video again, I'll go and I'll research those 3 videos that are up there, see how they filmed it, see what they talked about, and then I'll read the comments. And I remember one of the comments for one of the one of the videos is like, "This video is terrible. This was like you were doing an ad read for the entire thing." Right?
Ah.
And so I found it so funny. And so I was like, okay, well, I got to make sure I don't do that. And then I want to answer any other questions that I have in the comments for them. Okay. So that's what I did when I created my Hollow Socks video. Now, right now it's underperforming my channel, but it's still at like almost 4,000 views, I think. And the cool thing is that it's still getting views to this day, even though I
Oh
posted it a couple
yeah.
months ago, because people are still searching for that term. And that was my play with this. I knew this wasn't going to go viral by any means, but I knew it would just kind of keep getting views. And probably for me, it's a lot of seasonal stuff. They're probably not going to start searching for this type of term more so until summer for hiking. So, the views will just kind of oscillate, but yeah, they're always going to be there. So for a construction product, this is a long way to explain this, but
No, you're good.
sorry. Yeah, it could be the same.
I'm
It could
just
be the
looking up
same
stuff
exact
too right
thing.
now.
Yeah, it
Because
could be
I'm
the
looking
same
up some
exact
video
thing.
based off like what you're kind of telling me. I'm looking up some stuff, and it's funny. Um, one of the guys came up. He used to be in the roofing academy when I was part of that, Homestead Roofing, and he's got 10,000 subscribers. He's out here in Colorado. And I was just kind of looking for some videos that could be like good ideas for actually homeowners to last on. And like, hey, what roof is best for your home? Architecture shingles versus metal roofing. 240,000 views, right?
Boom.
Like that's pretty. Consumer Reports, the best asphalt shingles for your roof, 157,000 views.
So that's how that's that general term, right? Because if you're a homeowner, if you're a layperson homeowner, that's literally what I'm going to look up. Literally.
Yep.
What is the best fat asphalt to use, right? That's exactly
Yeah, seriously though. Like how does how much does a new roof cost in 2025? 30,000 views. Like these are examples of kind of going through and looking at some ideas. 3 shingles I would put on my house and 3 I would not. Right? I mean, all that stuff, solid stuff, and the people that are looking at that are going to be your ideal customer, right? Like how to choose a shingle color. Don't get this wrong. 75,000 views. Right, I'll do one more. It's the same guy. Asphalt shingles, most popular roofing material in Colorado Springs, right? And so it's like you could do, and that's kind of like an SEO play too. You know what I mean? For more local stuff, I think.
Absolutely, and I guarantee if you click in there at some point, they're going to put a CTA of, by the way, if you need a new roof, contact us, right? Type of thing. And so that's something super important to throw in there, because after you've already developed that relationship with them, then, Gary Vee always talks about it as jab, 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 left hook. And that left hook is the ask. But you want to build your rapport by just kind of doing these little jabs, right? These jabs, and you're giving. So it's basically give, ask at the end type of thing. So
boom, baby. That's some good stuff, man. Well, brother, I don't know if you know this, but I make you close it out, right? And so you can end it with wisdom, a marketing tip, a book, a life lesson, whatever you want. And then also my marketing guy says I have to say like, subscribe, share. So if you could throw that in there too, that'd be great.
Yeah, man. I think if you start reading any of Gary Vee's books, I think the most recent one is Day Trading Attention. It's a technical book. But if you can get through that, just listen to it on audiobook, you are going to be light years ahead of other folks that are in your industry that are just shooting from the hip and have no idea what type of content to post. And then I think also, especially if you're trying to make a YouTube play, look up that channel that Nick just talked about, because I think that they're doing an exceptional job on it, making it very general, open search terms. That would be somebody to potentially model off of. So, which Nick, I mean, you could totally even do shorts off of that too. I mean, if you were a shorts creator, you could totally do the same thing with shorts, like with our mutual client. I could tell him, hey, you're in the roofing business. You know what I'm saying? That type of thing too. So you don't have to go out of the gate long form, because it is pretty intimidating. So I would probably start with short anyway. But yeah, those are ideas that you can definitely model after.
Boom. Make sure you guys are checking them out. Give them a follow. We appreciate your wisdom, Chad. You the man.
Yeah. Like, share, subscribe.